Lady, I smell Big Brother.
No. You smell yourself. Take a bath.
I don't like to be kept waiting, Burnett.
Well, a two-key deal isn't enough incentive to make me be on time.
No, his guys were running flake. Shipment fell through. No idea whose operation this is.
I know you all hurt inside, but do your grieving in private. The street has no sympathy.
That kid was a hell of a salesman.
That kid was a huckster.
All right, so we got a major crack manufacturer gives up $20K in cash, happily, and considers dying for a briefcase.
Freeze! Miami Vice!
Welcome back, Vice fans, to Vice of Miami podcast, show 73. And this is going to be the season 3 recap. Tim, how are you doing?
Doing great, Mark, especially since we haven't even been back in the world from Hawaii a week yet. So doing really well. Had a great time there. Big Island is always great to go to. There's a lot, I don't know how many different of the world's climates on one island. It was awesome. We did a lot of stuff. We're glad to be back. You know, it's good to go away, but then you got to get back
in the swing of things. Like the episode says, back in the world, right?
Back in the world. Yep.
All right. Like we said, this is our season 3 recap. Tim and I are going to go over some of our points like we did the past couple of episodes. You know, why did they write this, guest star, things of that nature. We'll also cover some of the general thoughts and observations as far as season 3 as a whole, based off of the Miami Vice wiki page online that you could look at. And we'll just go from there. So are you set to go, Tim?
All ready, Mark. Let's do it.
All right. We're just going to take a few points off of the Miami Vice wiki page. What's it? miamivice.fandom.com, and just covering season 3. Just a few points. And then we could talk about it, and then we'll get into our stuff.
And Mark, one of the first points, are you ready to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. One of the first things that we both noticed in the opening season was their haircuts. Tubbs was shorter, and Crockett's became shorter and spiked. But then as the season went on, those hairstyles faded back into what they usually had in the first 2 seasons.
Right. And this is going to lead into one of our points, Dick Wolf versus Michael Mann. Dick Wolf took over this season as a line producer. And then it says, you know, the storylines reflect his rip from the headline style. We don't want to get into this too much here, but because, you know, I've got a good point in our points. But yeah, like we noticed, the hairstyles, and then they reverted back. Well, the storylines kind of did the same thing. You know, they were ripped for the headlines and then it kind of reverted back. So, but I'm going to do this one. Good old Elvis. This says appearances of Elvis, Crockett's alligator on the St. Vitus dance, gradually phased out this season. And from now on, he's only going to be mentioned in passing. And they really don't say whatever happened to Elvis.
No, they did not. No. Absolutely not.
So long, Elvis. Sad to see him go. He was always that little thing of Crockett's, his own thing.
Another one, and we did this research on this, or it might have been one of our fun facts. If you remember that Crockett's car changed to the Ferrari Testarossa from the Daytona, and that was in Stone's War. The Daytona was destroyed in the premiere episode when Irish Eyes Are Crying. If you remember, they were testing I think Tubbs was a Jamaican looking to buy the Stinger. And then the guy said, does it work? And the one guy that did it, works. But then it reappeared in El Viejo.
Right.
What we found out is that the network, they were, the way they were filmed, that network changed the running order of the episodes. So it's one of those things that, unless you really were an aficionado, you would have missed that.
You just sort of keep your eye on it. And this will play into season 5 when you mentioned, you know, those lost episodes in season 5 after like the official ending. We're going to, in season 5, we'll do the production codes. The production codes, when they made them, are actually out of whack versus, you know, when they actually appeared on TV. So, and then like I also noticed, the pastel clothing here, it's largely changed in favor of greens, yellows, and blues and dark grays. A lot of episodes I noticed muted colors, muted colors, muted colors, nothing popping,
Yes.
nothing flashing. This was allegedly heavily criticized by fans. And then it violated, it says here, Michael Mann's famous no earth tones rule. I don't think he
Yes.
wanted reds or something like that. Or I don't know, something goofy, but
Yeah, it went away from those pastel colors, those brighter colors, which would have been more conducive to the Miami scene, the Miami lifestyle. Bright, flashy. Like, think about at the beginning episode, they got those pink flamingos. So it's all those types of colors that Michael Mann drew from for the costume, and then Dick Wolf went away from that for whatever reason.
And one of the notes here, season 3 aired on Friday nights at 9 p.m., which was directly competing with CBS's Dallas, a move that caused ratings for both shows to drop. Never really a big Dallas fan. The only thing I remember back in the day was Who Shot JR, right? That was the big episode.
Right.
Or the cliffhanger from one season to the next.
Yes.
It also says here, season 3 features the most appearances of our most favorite supporting character, Izzy.
Izzy Moreno.
He appeared in a total of 7 episodes. But no, we didn't see Noogie at all, did we?
No Noogie.
Season.
Just one other point, if we want to close this segment out, is that, and this is something I didn't pay attention to, but they said smoking among the characters, especially Crockett, was gradually phased out.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. Because, man, season 1 and season 2, it was like a chimney for crying out loud, right?
Yes. Yes, he was.
But I think he stopped smoking himself. I think they did phase it, but I think he actually did stop smoking himself. Yep. And then obviously we know that Tubbs didn't actually, he didn't drink. And I don't think he ate meat, did he? I think he was like a vegetarian.
Something like that.
He didn't get the hot dog in season 2 at the hot dog stand. No, I'll pass.
And the final note is Miami Vice's year-end rating was number 22. So that's not bad.
Not bad at all.
It was still, after 3 seasons, it's still in the top 25 of all shows.
Yeah. I mean, even with Dick Wolf taking over, how some people thought that was going to be bad from the get-go, and still pretty good. All right, let's get into the fun part of this, Tim. Let's get into our separate lists. We knew the points we wanted to discuss, right? But we didn't know what each was going to bring up, so we've got them separate. First up, Tim, why did they write this? I'll give you the honor since you just got back from your extended vacation and our.
Why did they write this?
Why'd they write this? Go ahead.
I actually have 2 for this entry, but the first prize goes to Shadow in the Dark. The story of a leering peeping Tom who breaks into homes and eats meat from refrigerators of the unsuspecting homeowners just didn't seem like a case worthy of the OCD team. I have no other words than that. Second place went to The Afternoon Plane. Orlando Calderon devises a plot to dupe Tubbs, and he thinking he won an all expenses paid island vacation. Tubbs brings his girlfriend at the time, who gets caught in the middle. In fact, she gets shot at the end, and we don't know if she lived or died.
Right.
We're assuming she did. They could have done much more with Vincent D'Onofrio's character. The return of Orlando seemed comical at best at the end. It was like they had the gunfight at the OK Corral, but it was, for somebody who was vengeful,
right.
It didn't play out, Mark. It didn't play out.
You got it.
Okay.
You got it. Tim, I do not have any episodes for why did they write this.
Oh, you didn't do it, huh?
But go with me here.
Okay.
For me, nothing really screamed why. Nothing screamed why did they write this, but definitely a few of them dipped their toes into the waters. Now, let me say they weren't all stellar. Obviously, the ones you brought up were definitely not stellar. Down for the count. This is more of a they could have done this better. You're killing off a main character with an alleged OD, which we have no backstory whatsoever. This was not on the radar of Zito being this way. Not even a glimpse into anything of his life. Only thing we knew about Zito was he dated Switek's old fling Darlene and made for each other. Remember that in season 1?
Mm-hmm.
And he had a goldfish.
Right. But if you remember in that scene, well, what was actually his final scene as a live Zito, those characters, I can't remember who the main nemesis was, but his goons came in there, and Zito's standing there looking at this. I'm taking it that they just tied him up and they OD'd him and made it look like he did it himself. But I think
we were led
it was
to believe
murder.
that we were led to believe maybe that he did it. I don't know.
That's what they show it as, but
right.
I never felt that when the show first aired way back in the 80s, or when we just did our reviews. They murdered him. It was clear playing out murder because he was trying to twist their arm for more cash to buy the boxers, to own the boxers' rights.
Either way, this definitely should have been laid out, much better than some goons settling a debt of somebody else.
Right. And then
he could have went out in a blaze of glory in a gunfight or a car crash, chasing some of these guys, but tied him up and jacked him.
Dick Wolf took a more passive approach to his death.
Right.
But one of the things, and you had it in our opening clips for this episode, when Marty told him, "No, you're all grieving, but do it in private.
Right.
The streets have no sympathy."
Right.
That really was quintessential how the culture was. And there's still a little bit at today. It's getting better, but when you're talking in the police world, suck it up and move on. When we're in a fire service, same thing. You're going to see a lot of bad shit. You're going to lose people. And that hit home for me on that one.
Yeah. But again, this wasn't a why. This is why did they kill? Okay, maybe it's why did they kill him off this way? It should have been better.
Yes.
The other Viking Bikers from Hell, if I'm going to have anything, why they write this Viking Bikers from Hell? They had some good characters, good actors, but they definitely could have been much better. And then Afternoon Plane, like you said, it could have been better, especially with Calderon, the family Calderon coming back, settling a score. It should have been much better. It could have been more kidnappings, more intrigue, more twist to it. This was coming in and say, "Hey, I'm the boss," blah, blah, blah. No, didn't work for me. So
there you go.
Technically, if you want to be technical, Bikers from Hell, why'd they write it? Okay. That one.
Vinny D'Onofrio's character, they probably didn't do as much with him because he was probably relatively unknown. Right. Because this was pre-Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what propelled him into stardom.
Yep. And then Law and Order, right? Is that what it was?
Law and Order, Criminal Intent. Yes.
Yep. Okay. What's our next one? Best guest star. Can I take this one?
Go ahead.
Okay. I've got up for grabs here. They're both going to be equal. Bob Balaban as Ira Stone in Stone's War. And he returns after Back in the World, just like you got back. He's always a good actor in whatever I see him play in. He's always top notch.
Yes, he is.
Good. He always gets the character down and plays it well. Still kind of whacked out, but plausible in this story in the episode. And then my second one, Willie Nelson as the former Texas Ranger, Captain Jack Pearson in El Viejo. Another good actor, even though he's not an actor per se, but whatever little roles I see him in, he's good. He nails it. He's good. He's like a no-nonsense type of actor, I guess you could say. And then I kind of also noticed him and Crockett had that tie as far as good cops just doing the good that needed to be done no matter the cost.
Yep.
So I could see Crockett in his old days going to Texas to avenge Zito's death or something like that, doing the same thing that Willie Nelson did.
Yep.
Tim?
Well, for my best guest star, there was only one, and this we come to agreement on. Willie Nelson in El Viejo, playing retired Captain Jake Pearson of the Texas Rangers, and he blew in a town to avenge the death of the son of his old partner who saved Jake's life by taking a bullet from him. And Jake always swore to take care of his old partner's family from that day forward. So yeah, that was we definitely agree on that one. Love that episode, especially Crockett becoming enamored with the Texas Rangers and everything.
And this
it'd be cool. It'd be cool to rub elbows with somebody like that.
You want to take the best surprise in the plot twist?
Biggest surprise plot twist. I was thinking about it, and then I'm like, bingo. The biggest plot twist goes to Forgive Us Our Debts. In this episode, we agree. In this episode, Crockett works in the earnest to free a con whom he put on death row after new evidence suggests that he may have been wrongfully convicted. Crockett successfully frees Frank Hackman from death row and jail, only to learn he was set up from the word go. Frank actually committed the crime he was sentenced to die for.
Yeah, I simply have it. Crockett and I and all of us fell for the sob story of Frank Hackman not really being a cop killer, allegedly, until we got duped.
Yep. That was awesome.
Because Crockett, even though he's kind of a loose cannon, kind of sort of, but he's also a by the book guy, wanting to do the right thing for the right way for the right person. All right, Tim, next one up, best song. I'll head off this one. Holding Back the Years, Tim. Holding Back the Years by Simply Red. And this was ending with Crockett and Christine on the boat in By Hook or By Crook. Great mellow tune of the 80s. And personally, this was the start of me exploring other music, other than rock and pop, basically kind of that jazzy, kind of classic type song. It was just good. And I got a little clip here real quick. Who cares about copyrights? Take our money, which we don't make.
Holding back the years, thinking of the fear I've had so long. When somebody hears, listen to the fear that's gone. Strangled by the wishes of fate, hoping for the arms of mate.
Best song or song that I like this from when this show first aired, The Last Unbroken Heart, and that was from the season opener when Irish Eyes Are Crying. Liam Neeson as Sean Croon beguiles Gina, convinces her his days with the IRA are over, when in reality came to Miami to take out a Concorde with a Stinger. It really played to Gina being unwilling to take a risk for love, only to have, well, not unwilling, but she was unwilling but then willing to take that risk for love, only to have her heart broken when she had to kill Karoon. And this was the first, and that's what made this season unique. It was bookended with the first and the last episodes being Gina-centric.
Very good. Very good on both. All right. Next up, we got one-liner. Man, there were so many, Tim. I really couldn't go back and look for them all, but I want to say the best one, at least in near recollection of my memory, was Heroes of the Revolution, Tubbs to Ivan, the cab driver, who thought he was KGB.
You're not KGB? Get out of here. Do I look like a Russian to you?
Yeah, you can confuse Tubbs as a Russian spy, right?
Exactly.
Tim, what do you got?
My one-liner came from Forgive Us Our Debts.
Ooh.
When you had the guy that originally was the state's attorney that put Hackman in jail, he was running for attorney general, I think, something like that. And he had this back and forth with Crockett, and he tells Crockett, I'm the lawyer and my conscience is clear. And Crockett retorts, no, you're a politician. A conscience is optional.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He's dead on that one, isn't he?
And what's changed about modern day times? Nothing.
Not a dang thing. Not a dang thing. All right, let's check out location updates. We tried to go season 3 specific. I did, but it could be a series staple too.
I did.
I went to series 3 as well. I have in Killshot the Miami Hialeah Fronton, which is now called Casino Miami Hialeah. It's at 3500 Northwest 37th Avenue, and that's during the Hialeah scenes. I did a little research, Google Maps, And it's now just Casino Miami. No more Hialeah. I think on the Google Maps it says Hialeah is still there, but I looked at the website. It's just gambling and some shows. A few blocks south, they have Magic City Hialeah, which I follow them on Instagram. They play Hialeah in there. They got a front on a few blocks south. And the fun fact here, Tim, on this one, the scene in which Crockett meets Tubbs in the first episode when he jumps off the train trestle is literally right around the block from this, which is just east of the airport, Miami International Airport. And
Nice.
a further fun fact, which is kind of, I don't know, not personal, but those train tracks associated with the trestle was the site of great driving stress from me and my family in 2018 when we went down there vacationing. We were coming back, just a quick story. We were coming back from exploring Miami in the South Beach area, and stupid me, instead of wanting to hop on the freeways, which I heard are notorious, but I took the local roads and basically went along the coast and then west on 36th Avenue or street or whatever it's called there. No biggie, right? But these Miami drivers, they don't know how us Chicago people deal with down train gates. You go around them, right?
Ooh.
You see no train, you go. That's how we do it here. It took us, Tim, 45 minutes, no lie, to go from Interstate 95 to those gates, which is maybe a mile.
Because nobody would go around it.
Nobody would go around the gates. And then you couple this with the traffic lights, forget it. So finally, when I got up to the gates, I went right around these things. Nobody else did until I went around, and then boop, follow the leader. All these people, you could see them zooming around. But Tim, like 4 blocks away, you see the gates down, nothing, no trains coming for at least 15, 20 minutes. Nobody's going around. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Nice. My location update, it was from Down for the Count, and it's the boxing gym that was located at 3555 Northwest 18th Avenue in Miami. When I went to Google Maps, pull it up, the gym now appears to be a parking lot for a Checkers fast food restaurant. There seemed to be, and I wouldn't call it a monument. I don't, look it up, Mark. It looks like this triangular box. It wasn't a real monument. I don't know. It just didn't make sense why it was there, but it was there because you could see the checker. 3555 Northwest 18th Avenue. They gave a neighborhood, and I don't remember the name of it, but it should come up. It's in Miami.
Oh, you've got a library there, and it's a parking lot?
Yeah, there's the parking lot, and then you can see the checkers off to the left, but it's this triangular. What is that? Tell me what that is.
Hold on one second.
You go to street.
Oh, there we go.
What is that?
I don't know.
Neither do I. It doesn't make sense.
That's weird. Hey, if anybody's listening, go ahead and look it up. And if you know, throw it in the comments. Let us know what's the deal is. I guess not all of Miami Vice is maybe it is a Miami Vice monument. You never know. Zito died here.
Yep.
We'll just, you know what? We're going to claim that. That is a monument. You heard it here first. That is a monument to Larry Zito dying.
There you go.
I'm going to put that on Google Maps. Okay, let's see. Mike Mann versus Dick Wolf. Tim, I'm going to go with Mike Mann because as we were going over the points here, although Dick started out with the rip from the headlines in the beginning of the season, later on, the episodes seem to revert back to the Michael Mann style of season 1 and season 2 as far as substance in the episodes themselves and the stories. Mike Mann, can't explain it any further. What are your thoughts?
They were both different. Mike Mann was the innovator for Miami Vice as a cop procedural with an MTV flair. He was all about the clothing, fast cars, and sex appeal for characters, locations, and storylines. Then you had Dick Wolf come in, and immediately he added the rip from the headlines, plots, and in early going, they worked. Think When Irish Eyes Are Crying and Stone's War. But once he moved away from this format, the plot line became muddled mid-season and even towards the end. There were a lot of couple hokey episodes, but then they were redeemed with some serious, and one that came to mind was Teresa, a doctor that was addicted to drugs, and what she would do to support her habit. This is all I could say about him, is that this was his first dip in the Miami Vice water. So we have to wait and see what season 4 brings us. But I'm going to tell people, our listeners, go back to our episode where we reviewed Phil the Shill, and we had the interview with Paul, who was the writer for that.
Paul Diamond.
Paul Diamond was a writer for that and for Evan, but he does talk about Dick Wolf and what happened once he came on board. I'm going to leave it at that. You go back, listen for that, and then give us your thoughts.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Comment in the episode on the Facebook and Instagram. Let us know. Shoot us an email to miamivice@duck.com. Let us know what you think of Mike Van versus Dick Wolf. We definitely like to see other people's take, right? And this is the last one. Best episode, right, Tim?
Best episode, yes.
Plain and simple, El Viejo. And I'm going to refer back to my Crockett and Willie connection there. Simple as that. Good, simple story. And just to get that little, you knew Willie was something, but you don't know who he was until kind of like almost toward the end. Tim?
Yes. For me, by far the best episode that set the bar for this season was Lend Me an Ear. The story of an ex-cop turned surveillance specialist who played both ends against the middle between OCB and a drug lord made for a great circle jerk on both sides. Excellent episode for being a non-rip from the headlines Dick Wolf era Miami Vice.
So that's that for our season 3 recap on our points, at least. I hope you definitely enjoyed that. What do you say we get into our trivia, Tim?
Let's do a trivia.
All right. In our last episode, our trivia question was, what's the name of the moving company on the truck during the hit at the laundromat? And that was Father and Son Moving and Storage. And this episode's trivia question, which we'll answer for the first episode for season 4, is, what episode did this clip that I'm going to play appear in, and what are Crockett and Tubbs referring to?
That kid was a hell of a salesman.
That kid was a huckster.
So what were they referring to, and what episode is it from? Post your answers on this episode's socials or email us, miamivice@duck.com. And Tim, I'm going to do Snurds here. As always, we like to lighten things up a little bit with some words of wisdom, funny quip, or things to make things better in your life. For this one, this is something that I've got to do a little bit more often. And I think maybe everybody in the world should do this more often. It's basically breathe in, breathe out, and move on. Whatever situation you're in, whatever you're thinking of, breathe in, breathe out, move on. Now, I'm assuming that doesn't mean forget about whatever situation or issue you have, but some things you just can't change, some things you just got to deal with.
Right.
So again.
And that was a Jimmy Buffett song, and that song actually referred to the events surrounding Hurricane Katrina in 2005.
If a hurricane doesn't leave you dead, it will make you strong. Don't try to explain it, just nod your head. Breathe in, breathe out, move on.
So we're wrapping up here. Tim and I definitely appreciate everybody listening to us. I want to throw some thanks, and so does Tim, to a lot of fans that comment. We get a lot of comments on the different social medias. And for me, at least technically, I don't see a lot of them because I have no idea that we get them till like maybe a month later. But anyway, everybody who comments on the episodes themselves or just likes our stuff, if you subscribe, thank you very much. But I want to pick out a couple of them that I know we've talked to kind of back and forth, and I know have commented. But again, if I don't mention, please don't be offended or anything like that. It's just a lot of the stuff I don't see all the time. We've got Manic Movie Monday podcast, Vice and Easy Marina, her podcast. Thank you. You're a great kind of partner in this Miami Vice podcasting, right? Dolphin Fan 911. He makes on Instagram some music clips. He's a pretty good guy. Moochie Giacomo. I hope I'm saying that right. Everything Miami Vice. Jojo Jackson. As always, great comments. Peter Vital 100, aka Peter Tran on Instagram. Danny Siegel, John Rollins, John Ringo. He made a couple comments a little bit back ago looking for Miami Vice locations. Rich Matsumoto, he's from the Chicago suburbs, and we had a conversation a while. And I have a question to you, Rich. Did you go to the premier Iowa college that you stated in one of your posts? And that would be Iowa State. We don't want to talk about the other Iowa one. Just kidding. Just kidding. David Wedder. And did you find us on YouTube yet? I know you were looking for us. And again, everybody that likes and emoji comments on our posts through the different Miami Vice pages. We'd be here all day if we named everyone, and everybody that simply just hit the like button. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. And as always, we're always looking for any kind of improvements or ideas. So if you could reach out to us either through our Facebook page or any of our channels, but mainly that, or maybe Instagram, and hit us up with some ideas, anything you'd like to see differently about the format of our show. But otherwise, thank you all for being with us on this journey. It's hard to believe that it's been 3 years that's gone by. And Mark, I have to say that when you approached me that long ago to do this, it was the greatest thing that we could do, because not only we get to rewatch an old show, but we still get to, even though we're about 700 miles apart now, we still get to maintain our friendship.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's like having a telephone conversation every couple of weeks. You know, we're going back and forth with texting and things like that, but this really,
right.
I'm just very thankful that you came up with this idea to do this.
No problem. I know some of that stuff we talk about before we start recording is Tim's probably like, oh geez, what's the next saga in the soap opera of your life?
Everybody's
you know what
got
I'm talking
that.
About.
Everybody's got stuff.
You know what I'm talking about. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So I'll wrap it out here. Again, we all say thank you. Please, if you enjoyed it, consider subscribing to our podcast and following us on our social media to stay updated. On Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, we are Vice of Miami Podcast. Your support means everything. Please leave us a rating and review on those channels. And thanks for listening, and we can't wait to share more with you soon. So we'll catch you next time on the Vice of Miami Podcast Season 4 on Show 74, covering Miami Vice Season 4, Episode 1, Contempt of Court. Now.
Well, what do you say we call it a day, pal?